Stay fresh, kids and squids. It's yeah. This is one of my favorite gags in the game, actually, because it's not something you can do with voice acting. That the text is actually upside down.
These
But
two look awfully familiar, though.
what? No. What would give you that idea?
Almost as if they were world-renowned J-pop stars.
No. Oh, it's S pop actually.
Although, if you color the squid girl blue, she does sort of look like Miko,
Um, yeah.
which which is relevant because Miko's got some new PlayStation 3 games that came out in America for some reason.
Miku Squid Sune.
Miku. I'm sorry, I get my Miku Squid Sune. Yeah, and
There's actually some Squid Girl in
Ikamusume.
yeah, they did promotional art with her for Splatoon, which I thought was really cute. But oh yeah, but the plot in this game is pretty light, but it's enjoyable. The dialogue's funny, so you know.
well, with a game of this type, you don't really need more than that.
Yeah, well, and it's typical Nintendo fare not to have a plot that's too
Yeah.
too
Well,
in-depth.
yeah. Going back to Miyamoto's weird, backwards, old-timey ideas, I do agree with him on the point where you don't really need deep stories for video games. Well, depending on what they are, because a game with this kind of attitude just needs to be entertaining. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be art.
Yeah.
In the artsy interpretation of the word, which I don't really agree with to begin with, but that's a whole nother talk.
Most multiplayer-focused shooters don't really have very in-depth plots. Like, well, you guys probably are more.
Well, no. Most multiplayer shooters are completely different beasts. They're just trying to be destructive and realistic and gritty and badass.
And honestly, single player campaigns for something like Call of Duty or Halo are pretty much glorified action movies. So
well, yeah, but they still try to be unduly artsy at times. Like that one Call of Duty Modern Warfare thing with the terrorist attack at the airport was obviously them trying to push the envelope with the themes and the story.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Only because they did it right one time with Modern Warfare 1.
There was also what what Call of Duty game was it where it was press X to pay your respects or something? Or
I think that was
like,
Ghosts.
Yeah.
I
Or
think
it's
that was
just like,
Ghosts.
what?
Yeah.
Everyone makes fun of that.
Press X to feel sad.
Okay, here. Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 3 did that right about 10 years before you did.
That led to my favorite joke in Portal 2, where it says press A to say apple, and your character jumps because A is the jump button.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you can't talk.
Might have a minor case of serious brain damage.
I agree that a game doesn't need to have a deep story to be enjoyable, but I like my games to have a story when possible.
Well, I'm not saying don't have them. I'm saying don't think that you have to have them with every game you make.
No,
And this,
no, no,
this
no.
game doesn't have much narrative, but it does have a lot of character in that there's a lot of entertaining dialogue, both in the single-player campaign from Captain Cuttlefish, who was the guy who was teaching us everything at the beginning of the game, and from Agent 1 and 2, who are completely original characters that we have not seen before. The dialogue's funny, and that goes to like the shopkeepers in the main base as well. Like you don't mind the absence of a plot in a game like this, but it doesn't mean you get to slack off on creating entertaining characters.
You're entertained by the characters and all that.
Oh yeah. Just mindless entertainment takes as much writing skill to pull off as just really deep stories. There's just as much talent going into it. It's a different kind of writing talent, but it's still a writing talent that shouldn't be underestimated.
In a lot of ways, it's actually more important because if you've got a huge like plot that you're trying to write, if you don't have characters that entertain you and that you like, you're not going to care about what happens to them.
Well, and it's a different kind of entertainment depending on what kind of cast of characters you're trying to write. Like I wouldn't equate Joel from The Last of Us to a Final Fantasy character in terms of how it needs to be written. And I certainly wouldn't equate either of those things to a Squid Kid.
The Last of Squid.
Oh no, the Splatoon doesn't exist in the Last of Us universe, remember? Because
That's
Nintendo died in the apocalypse.
Just playing it all in their minds. Just like you play fighting game. You know, like that scene where fucking I forgot the girl's name. Ellie. There you go, Ellie. Yeah, when she's playing the fighting game in her mind, she's playing Splatoon instead.
Turn to a squid. Turn to a squid. Sub weapon. Sub weapon.
Fuck off! Oh, she's playing an adult Splatoon.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, she's playing the Splatoon with the voice chat option turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am like, okay, that's one thing that people are bitch about a lot, that there's no voice chat. Like, first off,
I understand why it's not there, but it would kind of be nice to have
at
for
least,
friends.
well,
but
if that's actually one thing I'm hoping for with when the multiplayer stuff gets upgraded later next month. One thing I would hope is that when you can do friend-only matches, that you can have voice matches with your friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because I understand 100% why they don't have why they don't have voice chat in online matches with random people, because this is a game sold to kids.
Racist 10-year-olds everywhere.
Can I just say something as far as the whole voice chat controversy goes? Okay, a lot of people will cry censorship because of that. What I'm going to say is, okay, cry censorship, but also stop trash talking online every time you play against someone, and then excusing it by saying, well, it's the internet, that's what's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
No,
also,
just
brief
behave yourself.
Okay, brief tangent. The Squid sisters are actually cousins, ruined forever.
Is that a Sailor Moon joke?
No. The secret scroll we got there talks about the Squid sisters, and they are not actually sisters. They are actually cousins. So
Squid cousins doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. It's not even alliterative.
yeah, but I'm not usually one to have the protect the children's kind of mindset. I do.
Would somebody please think of the children?
Yeah.
The game and the people who play it are two completely different elements.
I do know that, but there are 8-year-olds who play this game, and I don't think 8-year-olds need to be subjected to people calling them niggers and faggots because they didn't squid jump out.
Yeah, because they didn't ask for that. That's not that's out of their control.
So okay, it's if they included voice chat and then people complained about kids being subjected to that kind of thing. What people would wind up saying is, well, they shouldn't have had voice chat then. Since they took that step and don't have voice chat to avoid that situation, people are now complaining about the lack of voice chat. So
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Well, what I'm saying here is that the irony is the same people who are complaining about the lack of voice chat would have been the people saying then don't have voice chat if they did.
Yeah, so
it's the obvious decision to make.
Yeah, I know.
You're just complaining about it because it's inconvenient for you now that they,
It's a double standard. It's a double standard. It's a really obnoxious double standard. Yes.
Yeah, but I do think with friends it should be an option if the servers can handle it.
Yeah, because I know none of you guys are 14-year-old Nazis.
Well, but
or am I?
Okay, if people really
no, Ted.
If people really want to voice chat while they're playing Splatoon, if people really do want to voice chat while they're playing Splatoon with their friends at least, even if they don't include the function, you can still pull up Skype on your phone or on your PC or whatever.
Yeah,
that was basically Sakurai's excuse for Brawl.
Yeah, but I can do that. It's just it's nice to have the option in the game, but to be honest, it's not that much more work. Because if I'm gonna schedule, hey, if I'm gonna say to Ryan, hey, want to play Splatoon, I'm probably talking to him on Facebook or Skype. So it's not that much more work for us to pull it up anyway. So
yeah. It's not even like this is a new thing, really, because with PC games, people have relied on third-party chatting applications to cover their multiplayer voice chatting needs for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah, Ventrilo and others.
Usually, most of the time, the going onto Skype has clearer voice chat than doing it in-game, because you don't have to share bandwidth with the game.
They have fucking dedicated chat programming and servers and stuff, and that's all well and good. In fact, the Xbox One is literally just jumping ship to Skype since Microsoft owns it now.
Microsoft owns Skype?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In fact, yeah, like your Skype account is probably linked to your Microsoft Live account now if you've got one.
Huh. Okay, but it'll still run on Mac. though, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
still
guess
on
it's
that.
one of those things like Microsoft Word will work on now.
Well, yeah. When I say it's linked to your Microsoft Live account, I mean it's linked to your Hotmail and stuff account. Like it's one account for everything now.
Hotmailandstuff.com.
Yeah, which is also your Xbox account, which is all it's your everything Microsoft account now. And as much as I kind of don't like Microsoft for their do everything with one thing mentality with their operating systems, I do appreciate having just one account that I can tie to everything.
Yeah, that's helpful, for sure.
Well, I don't need to learn like 5 different passwords for my in muscle memory to open up all this other stuff, and that's all great and good. Oh, I suppose that's stuff you can buy at the shop.
Yeah. Oh, the carbon roller's there. I didn't realize that. The carbon roller was actually a weapon that didn't get released until a few weeks back. So, but
I always found paint rollers like a really fun looking thing, even in the context of just painting with them.
Oh no, we had to paint. We had to repaint one of our rooms last year, and I was just like, you'll see a lot of paint rollers online. Actually, one of my.
Well, because they're the best way to cover ground.
Well, not necessarily, but like one of my least favorite things to see is when I'm on a team and then there's 3 paint rollers along with me, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh,
well,
doing all the work.
I would assume that paint rollers sacrifice quite a lot of range for what they do.
Yeah, basically you can roll it around the ground, and then everything you walk past will get rolled, and you can also sort of fling it and do a short range burst that'll probably kill someone if they're in range, but they got to be in range. And of course, having a roller on your team is helpful. It's just not everybody can be the roller.
No. If it's a team of all 4 rollers, I'm saying
everyone.
Shit.
Someone has to be the medic.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm really liking the level design in this game. It's an obvious shooter game, but it also feels like a platformer.
Yes, I think especially the first few levels are pretty easy. I think once you get to World 3 and 3, 4, and 5, the level design gets complex enough to start really being very entertaining.
Well, this kind of feels to me like a natural evolution of the Ratchet and Clank Jack and Daxter style of gameplay. If that makes any sense.
It seems an awful lot more. It's definitely an awful lot more linear.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying it's definitely more linear, and the control is obviously a lot different than those styles of platformers. But there's a lot more emphasis on the gunplay, and I feel like if they took this kind of shooting style and made a Jack and Daxter or a Ratchet and Clank style game out of it, it would be an interesting experience.
When it comes to Jack and Daxter, I know the first game was much more of a standard platformer. How much did shooting play a part in 2 and 3 for Jack?
It was your main way of attacking.
It was your main way. Yeah, you still had your punches and your spin kicks, but enemies had a lot more health, so you put yourself significantly at risk if you tried to fight them exclusively by melee. You had in Jak 2 you had 4 different guns that you could get throughout the game, and enemies would drop the different types of ammo you needed for all 4 guns. And in Jak 3, they added 2 different transformations for each of your 4 guns, so you now had 12 different guns. And the gun system in Jak 3 was pretty, frickin' awesome for what it was.
It was like Dark Jak and Light Jak, you said, if I remember.
Dark Jak and Light Jak were your transformations, and they basically altered the way you fought. And Light Jak healed you or something. It's been a while since I played Jak 3. For some reason, it's the game that I'm least inclined to go back to, probably because of the vehicle heavy beginning.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, even if a game is, like if you like one game more than the other, you might feel more like playing the game you like less. Like, for example, when it comes to Paper Mario, I love Thousand Year Door. I like it better than Paper Mario 1, but I go back to replay Paper Mario 1 more for some reason.
Well, yeah, Paper Mario 1 has a much easier get into opening sequence. And, it's the same situation with me with the Persona games, or even within the Final Fantasy series. I don't play the Persona games all that much because I know that I'm going to have to go through the frickin' 2-hour story intro every time.
Yeah, I was going to say easier, yes. Slower, yes. I think Paper Mario starts at a crawl.
Paper Mario, the first Paper Mario, it takes a good 15 minutes to get to your Well, you got the fight with Bowser, but that's a plot fight.
The whole castle sequence.
Yeah.
15 minutes? Oh, man, that's so small potatoes compared to the Persona series.
Oh, yeah, true, but...
It's Lewis crossing his arms and laughing at it. 15 minutes.
Well,
you don't know the half of it.
It's like, not every RPG can be Final Fantasy VII, and I appreciate that. I understand that, and, I like a good story build-up. The first time I play an RPG, it does make it really hard to get back into specific games for later playthroughs, though.
Yeah, it's also, but the thing is that you're also expecting something very different putting in a Shin Megami Tensei as opposed to a Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Beware the paper dick demons.
Dude, you didn't have to...
Shin Megami Tensei cross Paper Mario.
Well, I mean, Intelligent Systems already gave them Fire Emblem, so why not?
Shin Megami Tensei Paper Jam.
I don't want any more Shin Megami Tensei Nintendo crossovers, because it's obvious they're just going to not do anything even remotely related to the Nintendo franchise now.
Well, no, they made Gangrel like a spinny head dude thing.
Tiki's pretty much as she was, just J-poppy.
When they announced Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, I thought it was going to be a crossover between Devil Survivor and Fire Emblem, which seems like the obvious way to go, right? They're both strategy RPGs, and maybe there would be, characters from the other Shin Megami Tensei series just for the hell of it. I mean, they showed off, like in the initial teaser, they showed off characters from all sorts of games in both series, so...
Yeah, well, I think that they had I think either they had no idea what they were going to do with it at first, or they radically changed their direction mid-development.
They made it a tokusatsu anime RPG, and while that looks like it could be entertaining, it's the weirdest possible design direction they could go with this particular idea.
When does that game come out anyway? Because is it going to be competing?
Next year.
Okay, so it's not going to be competing with Persona 5 then. Or directly, at the very least. All right.
People are interested. So what would the actual game look like?
J-pop. Let's just throw all the J-pop in there.